And they are al-istiqamah wa-thabat. Steadfastness and being firm. Steadfastness and being firm. It's a big topic, but I don't want to burden you on the last lecture either. I don't want to make it really heavy. But we're just going to take a few elements of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. Indeed, those people who they say that our Lord is Allah, and then they have istiqamah. You know this word istiqamah, it's the same word as mustaqim, it's the same root as mustaqim. And when we ask Allah for as-sirat al-mustaqim, and al-istiqamah linguistically is al-istiwa' wal-i'tidal. It's to stand up straight and to be straight and to stand up tall and straight. To rise up and be straight. Al-istiwa' wal-i'tidal. This is what we call istiqamah linguistically. So it's something to do with standing up straight and being upright. Like sometimes we say being an upright Muslim. Stand up and be counted. Be a Muslim on the straight way. As for the definition in Islam, istiqamah is such an important word that it's a word that was defined by all four of the Khulafa al-Rashideen. Abu Bakr, and Umar, and Uthman, and Ali radiallahu anhum, all four of them had an explanation for what istiqamah is. As for Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he said, it is to worship Allah and not to make any partner with Him. And my dear brothers and sisters, this is Aslul Istiqamah wa Aslul Thabat. This is the core of being a righteous, upright, straight Muslim. Right, on the straight path. The core of it and the heart of it, all of it revolves around worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and not making any partner with Him. And you already know this, because if I was to say to you, what is the word that a person says that makes that person upon as-sirat al-mustaqim? If you could say one word, one phrase, that would make you upon the sirat al-mustaqim and keep you on it until you die, what would it be? Would it not be ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam? La ilaha illallah, this is kalimatul istiqamah. It's the words of istiqamah. And it's the kalimatul tawheed, the word of tawheed. If a person has this, they're going to be on that straight path, and they're going to continue on that straight path as long as they don't make a partner with Allah Azza wa Jal in those things that are big, in those things that are small. They'll be on that straight path, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So the core, the basic way of getting on this path, the basic way of being firm and being upright is La ilaha illallah. And that's why the most important definition of istiqamah is the definition of the most knowledgeable person in this entire ummah after the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. That you worship Allah and you don't make any partner with Him. And likewise, Aslu Thabat, the core of being steadfast and resolute and staying on this path is La ilaha illallah. So we have an evidence for that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Ibrahim, يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْقَوْلِ الثَّابِتِ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ وَيُضِلُّ اللَّهُ الظَّالِمِينَ وَيَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ. يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah makes the people who believe firm. Allah makes them strong. Allah makes them resolute. They're sticking to their belief until they die. They're sticking, they're firm on it, and they're going to stay on it. يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ. Allah makes them firm like that. They didn't give it for themselves. They didn't get thabat for themselves. That thabat, that firmness, and that resolve, and that sticking to it until they die, that came from Allah. And Allah gives it to them fil hayati dunya. Allah gives them thabat in this life. And Allah Azza wa Jal gives them thabat fil akhirah, in the qabr. When the two angels come and they make up the person sit up, and they say to him, Man Rabbuk, wa ma dinuk, wa man hadha al-rajul alladhi bu'itha fikum. And who is this? Who is your Lord? And what is your religion? And who is this man that was sent among you? يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْقَوْلِ الثَّابِتِ. Allah gives them a firm word. That person doesn't doubt, he doesn't shake. The hardest exam of his life, when he's asked in that grave. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, it has been revealed to me that you will be tested in your graves with a test that is equal to, or he said near to, the Masjid Tawfiq. You know how we keep telling the Dajjal, the biggest test since Allah created Adam, the test you will have in your grave will be equal to the test of the Dajjal or similar to the test of the Dajjal. The narrator, he mentioned these two words, either equal to or similar to the test of Al-Masih Al-Dajjal. And at that time, the one who is strong and firm, Allah makes him strong. He says, Rabbi Allah, my Lord is Allah. Wa dini al-Islam, and my religion is Islam. Wa hadha al-rajul alladhi bu'itha fina, and this man that was sent among us is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he doesn't doubt, he doesn't waver, because he's thabit, he's firm and he's strong and he's resolved. The scholars of tafsir, they almost unanimously mention this tafsir, that the qawl al-thabit that Allah gives you is la ilaha illallah. This is the resolute word that makes you firm. This is the word that makes you firm in the dunya, and it makes you firm in the akhirah. La ilaha illallah. And that is why if a person understands this word, la ilaha illallah, this phrase, and implements it in their life, because la ilaha illallah, ya ikhwani, it's not just a word you say. It's not the movement of the tongue. The heart, the tongue, and the limbs, they all have to make shahada and la ilaha illallah, the testimony that there is nothing that deserves to be worshipped except Allah. And they have to avoid making a partner with Allah and disbelieve in everything that is worshipped besides Allah, and disassociate themselves from everyone and everything that worships someone else besides Allah. When a person implements La ilaha illallah, this person gets a thabat fi dunya wal akhirah. So we said that aslu thabat, the core of steadfastness and being firm and resolute, and the core of istiqamah, being an upright Muslim, is La ilaha illallah. Wallahi, we need to teach our children the proper meaning. And we need to teach ourselves the proper meaning and all of the implications of it. Ya ikhwan, it's not a simple thing. Some of the people, they might think that it is an easy thing, it's a simple thing, and they might say, this is just a simple word. We mentioned the poetry in the morning, that the poet said that beautiful line of poetry when he said, Atani and sahlan damma jahlan, uluman laysa ya'rifuhunna sahlu. Uluman law daraha ma qaraha, lakin al-rida bil-jahli sahlu. He said, it came to me that Sahel, he was criticizing some knowledge that he doesn't know. If he only knew what it was, he would never have hated it. But being happy with ignorance is easy. A lot of people, subhanAllah, they don't know the value of this word. They don't know that this is the word that if you have it, it's your safety and your sirat al-mustaqim, and it is al-urwatul wuthqa, the strong handhold that will never break. And it is al-qawl al-thabit fil hayat al-dunya wa fil akhirah, in this world and in the next. All of that is la ilaha illallah. And that is where you see the knowledge of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq over all of the people when he explained istiqamah, that you worship Allah and you don't make any partner with Him. Because this is the core of istiqamah. And Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiyallahu anhu, he gave us a different aspect. He gave us a different definition. Remember, we said this word istiqamah, it was defined by all of the Khulafa al-Rashidin. That shows you how important it is that all four of them spoke about it and gave a definition for it. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, he said, أن تستقيم على الأمر والنهي ولا تروغ روغان الثعالب. He said that you are straight and you're solid, you stay in doing what Allah told you to do and keeping away from what Allah told you to keep away from. And that you don't try to circumvent like a fox. You don't try to go around the back alleys and the left and the right and you try to sneak your way around it like a fox, or like the foxes do. This is a really beautiful definition from Al-Faruq radiyallahu anhu. He defined what it means to be upright and steadfast. He said you have to be steadfast in doing what Allah told you to do and what Allah told you to keep away from. And what is the greatest thing that Allah told you to do? يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. O mankind, worship your Lord, who created you and those who came before you, so that you might be a people of at-taqwa, a people who prevent and protect themselves from the punishment of Allah. And what is the greatest punishment you need to avoid? فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Don't make for Allah a partner when you know that Allah is the one that created you and sustained you and provided for you and did all of those things. How can you make a partner with Allah? So the greatest command and the greatest prohibition that Umar is referring to here is the same as what Abu Bakr said. But Umar is giving a wider definition. He's telling you that it's not just La ilaha illallah, that's the heart of it. But now when you've taken La ilaha illallah, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. They said our Lord is Allah. They took La ilaha illallah properly. They worshipped Allah Azza wa Jal alone, as Abu Bakr said. Now they have other commands we've been asked to do. And those commands are not of one level. They're not of one level. They're not one single level. Those commands, some of them are more emphasized than others. So among the commands which are very strongly emphasized more than anything else after La ilaha illallah is as-salah. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commanded us, وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. Be firm and steadfast in keeping going with your prayers. Keep on going with your prayers. The Prophet ﷺ, the last words that he said as he was passing away, from among the last things that he said, as-salah, as-salah, the prayer, the prayer. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the first thing a person will be taken to account for Yawm al-Qiyamah is the prayer. If it's accepted from him, all of his deeds will be accepted. And if it's not accepted from him, none of his deeds will be accepted. So we have to stick to what Allah told us to do and to keeping away from what Allah told us to keep away from. This is what it means to go on the straight path. Allah's straight path. To stick to what Allah commanded and keep away from what Allah Azza wa Jal kept away from. And we don't want to start going around the corners and around the houses and looking for the ways to shortcut and trying to be sneaky and sneak around the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. There are lots of ways people do that. There are lots of ways that people try to circumvent or go around or sneak around the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. Rather, as a Muslim, what is the meaning of Islam? Al-istislamu lillah. That you submit yourself to Allah. So now you are going to do what Allah told you to do. Allah told me, Aqimus salah, I have to do my prayers. Allah said to me, Aqimus salah liduluki shamsi ila ghasaqi al-layli wa Qur'an al-fajr, inna Qur'an al-fajri kana mashhuda. Perform the prayer from when the sun is in the middle of the sky until the night time comes, meaning Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, wa Qur'an al-fajr. And the Qur'an that is recited at Fajr, Inna Qur'an al-Fajr kana mashhuda. The Qur'an at Fajr is witnessed by the angels. Now I have to stick to that. Allah Azza wa Jal prohibited certain big major sins to make a partner with Allah. The performing of magic, the killing of a soul without right, riba, zina, all of these big sins, backbiting, accusing a chaste Muslim woman of adultery, all of these big sins, eating the wealth of the orphan without right, devouring the wealth of the orphan, big sins that Allah mentioned. I have to keep away from them. Because if I said La ilaha illallah, that means I have submitted myself as a Muslim. Istislam, I've submitted myself to Allah. And what Allah told me is right, that's what I'm going to try to do. And what Allah told me is wrong, that's what I'm going to try to avoid. And I'm not going to seek to go up and down like that and to sneak around like that. And likewise, from the ways that a person can end up sneaking around like that, is that a person is inconsistent. One of the meanings of what Umar ibn Khattab said is you don't be inconsistent. You try to stay on that all the time. Not like the person who says, I'm going to do whatever I want when I'm young, and when I'm an old man, I'm going to go to Hajj. Wallah Kareem, Allah is going to forgive me. Allah is going to have mercy on me. That's not the right way. Person takes the opportunity right now because you don't know that you're going to get another opportunity. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَنُقَلِّبُ أَفْئِدَتَهُمْ وَأَبْصَارَهُمْ كَمَا لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهِ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. This is one of the most scary ayat of the Quran. That we turn their eyes and we turn their hearts away from Islam because when they had a chance, they didn't take it. كَمَا لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهِ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. When they didn't take that chance in the beginning, we took the chance away from them and we never gave them another chance after that. We sealed their hearts and we turned their eyes away, we blinded their eyes because we gave them a chance. We gave them a chance, but they didn't take that chance. So part of istiqamah is you take the chance and you're not inconsistent where you have, you're aiming at one point in your life to do all that practicing, another point in your life you're not doing it. Try to stay consistent. No doubt, a Muslim has ups and downs. No doubt, your iman goes up and it goes down. It goes up whenever you obey Allah and it goes down whenever you disobey Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that a Muslim has periods of activity and inactivity. And periods where he's doing well and he's doing lots of good deeds, and periods where he's not doing so well. So whoever's inactive periods, whoever time when he's not doing so well, it matches the Sharia, this person is successful. What is meant by that is that a person never goes below the minimum standard. Yes, in the voluntary deeds you might go up and down, but part of istiqamah is you don't slip below the water level. There's times when you're up in the sky, there's times when you're a little bit lower, but you never sink so low that you start drowning. So you never leave off your 5 daily prayers, you never leave off worshipping Allah, and you never make a partner with Him, so you don't slip below the minimum standard. No doubt all of us going to have times we go up, times we go down, times we're on the top, times we're not so high. But those times when we're inactive and we're having a slow time and our iman is down, they don't go below the minimum standard that Allah has set for us as a Muslim. Meaning we don't go in of Islam and out of Islam, in of Islam, out of Islam, in of Islam, out of Islam. Instead, we go in and out of maybe some of the voluntary deeds. That's why when you aim high, we talked about aiming high, right? When you aim high, that's what happens. You go in and out of the voluntary deeds. Like sometimes I do this voluntary deed, sometimes I don't do it. Sometimes I do this extra deed, sometimes I don't do it. But you don't start, sometimes I'm a Muslim and sometimes I'm not. It's part of istiqamah. That you don't let yourself go up and down in the core of your Islam. But you go up and down in some of the things that are additional to that. And sometimes the minor sins that we all fall into. So when you know that Allah's commands and His prohibitions, when you know that Allah's commands and prohibitions, you know that those commands and those prohibitions are of different levels. Which one you're going to give attention to first? Al-aham fal-muhim. The most important one, and then the next important one. So the most important one, we said, you worship Allah, you don't make any partner with Him, your prayers, your most important deeds. And keeping away from the biggest sins. And you just go through your life just rectifying that, continuing like that. Trying to get rid of the bigger things, of the mistakes, and trying to do the bigger good deeds. Until you get to the small deeds and you try and do as many of them as you can. And you don't look down on them. And we mentioned in the beginning that Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar, he said, commenting on the hadith, لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا. Don't look down on any good deed. You don't know the good deed. That might be the one that tips your scales into paradise, and you don't know the bad deed that might tip your scales into Jahannam. Uthman ibn Affan, radiyallahu anhu wa ardah, he defined istiqamah. He said, استقاموا أخلصوا العمل لله. They made their deeds only for Allah. Everything that they did, they just did it for Allah. So he kind of joined between the definition of Abu Bakr and Umar, but it's closer to the definition of Abu Bakr. Uthman's definition is closer to Abu Bakr, but he mentioned those, he just highlighted those, that all your deeds you're doing all your good deeds. Like Umar said, you're doing all of your good deeds and you're sticking to them. But you make sure when you're doing those good deeds and you're sticking to them, you only do them for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu, he said, the meaning of istiqamah is, or ثم استقاموا is addul fara'id. They did what Allah made obligatory for them to do. And this is close to the statement of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. The reality of these four definitions is that they don't contradict each other. In fact, they are all part of that big picture. That the core of being firm, the core of being steadfast, is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not make any partner with Him, and make all of your deeds for Allah alone. And then to perform the obligations and keep away from the prohibitions. Some of the scholars, they defined istiqamah as لزوم الصراط المستقيم, sticking to Allah's straight path. بفعل ما أمر الله وترك ما نهى عنه, by doing what Allah commanded you to do and leaving off what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you to leave off. And then they mentioned وَالْوُقُوفِ عِنْدَ الْحَدِّ, and you stick within Allah's limits. And you do it بِإِخْلَاصٍ وَعِلْمٍ وَاتِّبَاعٍ. You do it with ikhlas, sincerity, and you do it with ilm, knowledge, and you do it with ittiba', following the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a nice comprehensive definition. You stick to Allah's straight path. by doing what Allah told you to do and keeping away from what Allah told you to keep away from. And sticking to the limits that Allah put for you. And you do it by seeking knowledge, by being sincere for Allah, and by following the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. There is a hadith that it makes sense to mention right now from among the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in which he said, ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا صِرَاطًا مُسْتَقِيمًا. Allah gave the example of a straight path. At the beginning of the path, there is a gate. Along the path, there are two big walls. And these walls, they have doorways, and these doorways are covered by curtains which hang down. At the beginning of a path, there is a gate, and on top of the gate, there is a caller who cries from above the gate, "O servants of Allah, enter Allah's straight path, and don't go left and right. وَلَا تَعُوجُوا. Don't go left and don't go right. Don't deviate, just go straight." Whenever a servant comes to one of those curtains over the doorways that line the side of the road, and he goes to lift up that curtain, a voice cries out, "O servant of Allah, do not lift up the curtain, because if you lift it, you're going to go through it, through the door." The Prophet ﷺ, he explained that this straight path is Allah's straight path. And the walls are Allah's limits. And the doorways lead to what Allah has made haram. And the caller that cries out from the top of the gate, this is the book of Allah. And the caller that cries out when you go to open one of the curtains, this is al-wa'id fi qalbi kulli Muslim. It is the alarm bell, the admonition that exists in the heart of every Muslim. Two things I want to highlight here. I want to highlight the fact that the Quran is what is going to guide you to be steadfast. The Quran is what's going to guide you to al-thabat. And of course the Quran comes along with the Sunnah, because the Quran tells us that we have to follow the Sunnah. وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever the messenger gives you, take it. Whatever he leaves you from, abstain from it. So the Quran and the Sunnah, which explains the Quran, they are our guide before we even start on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. They tell us how to get to it. They tell us what it looks like. They tell us how to stay on it. They tell us the people we're going to find on it. They tell us what is on the sides and what to avoid. Every single thing we need to be firm and steadfast, the Quran and the Sunnah, they explained it to us. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, تَرَكْتُكُمْ عَلَى الْبَيْضَةِ لَيْلُهَا كَنَهَارِهَا لَا يَزِيغُ عَنْهَا إِلَّا هَالِكٌ. He said, I've left you upon a clear path. Its night is like its day, meaning at night it doesn't get dark. It doesn't get like you can't see the path at night. At night it's the same as the day. Nobody goes away from that path except that they're going to be destroyed. The Prophet ﷺ left us on a clear path. He described for us how to stay firm. He described for us how to remain strong and how to stay on that path. And Allah Azza wa Jal described to us who we can find on the path. Do we not see that Allah said, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Guide us to the straight path, the path you have bestowed your favor upon, the people you bestowed your favor upon, not those who earned your anger and went astray. Allah Azza wa Jal said about the people that He gave His favor to, what did He say? Whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا. Whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, those people are going to be along with the people that Allah blessed, Who did Allah bless? The people on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. They are al-Nabiyyin, the prophets. Was-Siddiqeen, the people who are the Siddiq, like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and like Maryam, the mother of Isa. May Allah send His peace upon them both. They are from the Siddiqeen. And from the Shuhada, the martyrs, like Umar and Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhum. And the Salihin, the righteous, the companions, and all those who follow them in good. Subhanallah. These are the people on the path. So if you want al-thabat and you want al-istiqamah, you're not going to find it except by following the Nabiyyin and the Siddiqeen and the Shuhada and the Salihin. You're not going to find it by following the disbelievers. And you're not going to find it by following the shaitan and his fooling you and trapping you in the dunya. You're going to find it by following the Prophet ﷺ, by following Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and the remainder of the companions radiallahu anhum wa ardahum. That's how you're going to find the Sirat al-Mustaqim, because Allah promised you those people are on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. So if you're walking on a path and that is a path that Abu Bakr walked on, then you know for sure I'm on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, because I know for sure that Abu Bakr was on. And if you find yourself with a religion and a belief and a methodology that is different from the way of those people, then you know that you're not on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Because how can you be on the Sirat al-Mustaqim and Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were on a different path? That is why Imam Ibn Qayyim, when he defined al-istiqamah, rahimahullah ta'ala, in Madaris Salikin, he said, لزوم المنهج القويم. You stick into the right methodology. You're on the right way, the right methodology, and you stick to it. The methodology of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. The methodology before them of the Nabiyyin, the prophets. That's the right methodology. That's the methodology of the people on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. You can't have istiqamah except how they had istiqamah. And you can't have thabat except the way that they had thabat. So now we've really got more of a comprehensive understanding. What about this caller in the heart of every Muslim? Allah Azza wa Jal created you with natural aversion to sin. Allah Azza wa Jal, He said in a hadith Qudusi, خَلَقْتُ عِبَادِي حُنَفَاء. I created my servants as monotheists, pure worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And like the hadith, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ أو مَا مِن مَوْلُودٍ إِلَّا يُولَدُ على الفطرة أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. There is no child except that he's born naturally on the fitrah. But it's his parents, وَأَبَوَاهُ, it's his mom and his dad. What do? يُهَوِّدَانَهُ أَوْ يُنَصِّرَانَهُ أَوْ يُمَجِّسَانَهُ. They turn him into a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim or a Magian. People are born with a natural inclination. And even the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that the sin, when he said it, for example in the hadith, istafti qalbak, seek a fatwa from your heart. Your heart naturally has an aversion to sin. The sin is what makes your heart feel, you don't feel right, and you're scared for people. You're scared or you're shy that the people would look at you, as is found in some of the hadith. The sin is what, it goes around in your heart, in your chest. It doesn't feel right. And you would be scared for the people to see you doing it. But the problem is that so many of us have lived a life of so much disobedience that we lost that. We lost the alarm bell. The wa'id in the heart of the Muslim is gone now. That's why when you go to these people outside, the non-Muslims, they've gone from their fitrah. They don't even remember their fitrah anymore. You say, you were created hanif. You were created to worship Allah alone. It's natural, it's normal. They don't remember because they've gone so far away that their heart has disconnected from its natural way and its natural nature. And the same way a Muslim could do that with sins. A Muslim could be in a situation where they sin so much and they disobey Allah so much, and they leave Allah's straight path so much that they stop actually knowing the difference between a sin and not a sin. And that's why when you say to them, Ya akhi al-kareem, ya ukhti al-kareema, my dear brother, my dear sister, this is haram. And they might get upset with you. And they might say to you something horrible about, you know, why are you saying this to me? Why are you saying to me about haram? I don't think it's haram, it's not haram to me. They lost that. They lost the alarm bell in the heart of every Muslim that keeps you on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. So this leads us to a principle. وَيَزِيدُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا هُدًى. The more guidance you get, the more you are guided, the more guidance you get. Allah gives an increase in guidance to those who are guided. This is very important on istiqamah and thabat. Why? Because what does it tell you? The more you stick to that sirat al-mustaqim, what's going to happen? Allah is going to make you even firmer on it. Allah is going to give you ziyadat huda, even more guidance. You got some guidance, more guidance. You got some more, you get some more. You got some more, you get some more, like that. And you keep going on that straight path, and Allah keeps on giving you extra guidance and extra thabat until Allah Azza wa Jal takes your life when you're in that situation. On the Sirat al-Mustaqim, you're walking behind the prophets, you're walking behind the Sahaba, you're walking behind the people who followed them in good, and Allah keeps on guiding you that way. Your heart is in touch with its nature. You hear the alarm bells when you disobey Allah, and Allah keeps on guiding you to more and more and more good. That's the situation of the person in a state of al-istiqamah wa thabat. And so much of this is down to what you say. And that is why when we talked about al-thabat, we talked about the ayah in Surah Ibrahim. Before that ayah in Surah Ibrahim, in ayah number 24, Allah Azza wa Jal said, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا كَلِمَةً طَيِّبَةً كَشَجَرَةٍ طَيِّبَةٍ أَصْلُهَا ثَابِتٌ وَفَرْعُهَا فِي السَّمَاءِ. Allah said, don't you see how Allah has given you an example, like a proverb? A good word like a good tree. This good word is La ilaha illallah. كَلِمَةً طَيِّبَةً. معنى كلمة طيبة is لا إله إلا الله. Allah gave you لا إله إلا الله كشجرة طيبة, like a firm tree, like a beautiful tree. أصلها ثابت. Your foundation is rock solid. This is thabat. Your foundation of لا إله إلا الله is solid, strong. وَفَرْعُهَا فِي السَّمَاءِ. And all of the good deeds you did, like the branches of the tree, they reach all the way up to the heavens. How did those branches reach up to the heavens? Because your foundation was strong. Like Abu Bakr, he said, and like Uthman radiallahu anh, they focused on the root of the tree. And maybe like Ali radiallahu anh told you about the branches of the tree. And like Umar, he told about the whole thing. This idea of the foundation, and then you have the branches that come off. تُؤْتِي أُكْلَهَا كُلَّ حِينٍ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهَا. The fruits keep coming every season by the permission of their Lord. وَيَضْرِبُ اللَّهُ الْأَمْثَالَ لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. And Allah gives the examples to the people and proverbs to the people so that they can think and remember. But on the other side, وَمَثَلُ كَلِمَةٍ خَبِيثَةٍ كَشَجَرَةٍ خَبِيثَةٍ. The example of a filthy word is like a filthy tree. An evil word is an evil tree. وَجُتُثَّتْ مِنْ فَوْقِ الْأَرْضِ مَا لَهَا مِنْ قَرَارٍ. It's uprooted from the surface of the earth. It doesn't have any foundation. Then Allah said, يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْقَوْلِ الثَّابِتِ. Allah makes those who believe have a firm word in this world and in the hereafter. وَيُضِلُّ اللَّهُ الظَّالِمِينَ. And Allah misguides those who oppress, i.e. the people who they make a partner with Allah and they engage in the major sins. وَيَفْعَلُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ. And Allah does whatever He wants. So we have to be very careful about what we say. It's from the important points of the ayah. And no doubt the fundamental of that is the shahadatain. But everything you say has a chance to add, like that kalima tayyibah, to that beautiful tree. All the beautiful things you say and all the beautiful things you do. And the evil things that you say and the sins you fall into, they have a chance to pull that tree out from the ground and leave it without any roots. The last thing that I'm going to mention to you, inshaAllah ta'ala, on this topic, because we want to just keep it nice and simple for everybody to conclude, is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that the most beloved deeds to Allah are what? أدومها, the most regular and consistent. And one of the meanings of al-istiqamah is to be regular and consistent, and al-thabat, to be regular and consistent. You don't become like going around like the fox, sneaking around like the fox. You have to be firm upon keeping on doing your good deeds, even if they are small, even if they are very small in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jalla. What is the reward of as-thabat? So we can conclude. What is the reward mentioned in the ayat of al-istiqamah wa al-thabat? إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة. The angels, they descend. What do the angels say when they come around this person? أَلَّا تَخَافُوا, don't be scared of what's going to come. وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا, and don't be sad about what passed. وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ, and take glad tidings of the paradise that you've been promised. نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة. We are your allies in this world and the next. SubhanAllah, the angels being someone's allies, take the tidings of paradise. That you're going to have in paradise, ما تشتهي أنفسكم, whatever your soul wants. ولكم فيها ما تدعون. And you're going to have in it whatever it is that you have asked for, or whatever it is that Allah has promised to you. نُزُلًا مِنْ غَفُورٍ رَحِيمٍ, as a gift, or as a nuzul is what you prepare for your guest. It's a gift or a spread that Allah has put out for you from the one who is Ghafoor Rahim. He is always forgiving you and always merciful. This descending of the angels, أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. This descending of the angels, it happens 3 times. Number 1, at the moment of death. You imagine at the moment of death, you're about to die, and the angels, they came as far as the eye can see. Madd al-basar, as far as the eye can see. And at that time, the angels come down and they're saying to you, أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. Don't be scared about what's going to happen in your grave. And don't be worried or sad about what passed. Take the glad tidings of paradise you've been promised. The second time, when the people are raised up from the graves, and all the people are in disarray. أَلَا تَرَى مَا نَحْنُ فِيهِ, don't you see what we're in? Don't you see the hardships we're going through? And the angels at that time, they descend upon a certain group of the believers who they stayed firm and they stayed on Allah's straight path until they died, and they had a thabat and an istiqamah. And what happened? أَلَّا تَخَافُوا, don't worry about what's going to happen today. وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا, and don't you be sad about what went by in your life. وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ. The third time that is mentioned in some of the riwayat is when the believers enter Jannah, and as they are entering Jannah, the angels are saying to them, أَلَّا تَخَافُوا, don't worry about anything. وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا, and don't be sad about whatever happened. وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ, and take the promise of paradise that you have been, or take the glad tidings of paradise that you have been promised. Wallahi, this I think is inshallah sufficient as a discussion about al-istiqamah wa thabat. There is no doubt that from the dua that a Muslim is obliged to make, or a Muslim should make towards Allah Azza wa Jal, is to ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us al-qawl al-thabit fil hayat dunya wa fil akhirah, to give us a firm word in this world and the next, to make us people who live upon La ilaha illallah and they die upon La ilaha illallah, and to make us a people who the end of our life is better than the beginning of it. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us that the last thing that we say in this dunya is La ilaha illallah. As the Prophet ﷺ, he said that whoever the last thing that he says in this dunya is La ilaha illallah, dakhal al-jannah, he's going to go to Jannah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to, and to inspire us to be able to obey Him and to keep away from what He prohibited us from. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the obedience to Him that is going to take us eventually to paradise. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us away from all of the sins and the fitan, ma dhahara minha wa ma batan, whatever is apparent from it and whatever is hidden. That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy for me to mention. And I want to conclude with a few words of or just general words before the Q&A. Wallahi, just generally, first of all, to praise Allah Azza wa Jalla and thank Him. Wallahi, it has been a blessing and an honor for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah Azza wa Jalla, by His grace and His mercy, He brought us here together to be able to speak to each other and benefit from each other and learn from each other. And we want to extend our thanks to all of the organizers. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to keep it in the mizan of the hasanat. And also we want to extend our thanks to all of the brothers and sisters. Wallah, you came for a lot of time and you sat for a very long time. And you weren't sat on a comfortable chair like this. But like some of the scholars said, if you can't put up with the pain of learning, then you have to put up with the pain of ignorance. And we learned that in the morning, right? If you can't put up with the pain of learning, then you have to put up with the pain of ignorance. So wallah, it's beautiful that you sat and you had to have a little bit of difficulty from time to time, and you gave up your time, and some of you took time off work, and some of you came from far away. Wallah, Allah doesn't let the good deeds go. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more honorable and more noble and more generous and more merciful than to let the deeds of the believers go. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to reward you all for that. Whatever good I've said in these days, that's a gift from Allah Azza wa Jalla alone, and it's His Tawfiq and His Fadl, His grace. And whatever mistakes I've made, and I'm a human being, so you can expect sometimes those come out. That is just from myself, my nafs, and whatever the shaitan whispered or confused about. And Allah and His Messenger have nothing to do with the mistakes that we make. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to teach us what benefit us with, and to benefit us with what He teaches us, and to increase us in knowledge and give us the ability to act upon it. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Wassalatu wassalam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.
Jazakumullahu khairan. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward our Ustad, and surely it's our honor for you coming all the way from UAE and